Greetings, Guardians. My name is Byf here. So we should definitely start talking about the lore that came from the seasonal story, the Season of the Risen. We've got a lot to cover, and Vox Obscura in particular, aka the Dead Messenger mission, has some really interesting lore. For real this time, although I'm glad you all enjoyed our April Fool's video. This isn't exactly going to be a massive series of videos as it was for the raid lore, but there's still quite a lot of depth and complexity to all of the lore that we've got to cover here. Speaking of which, final cinematic raid video to round out that raid series. We will absolutely be doing one at popular request. We just need time to actually go ahead and get other stuff out of the way first this month. Those videos take time, and it's not always that a raid has as much lore as that, which requires a massive video. The last time I did a raid lore video was actually for Garden of Salvation, and that was assisted by the fact that the lore for the Garden of Salvation raid is pretty threadbare. You've got the Kentarch 3 and the Sol Divisive's connection to the Darkness, and that's kind of it. So we're going to be investigating some other crucial lore first, and all of that's going to help get us up to speed on things that are going on in the seasonal story. But first, a message from our sponsors over at Keeps, who were able to share with me some of the greatest lost lore of the Golden Age, lore that tells us of the true tragedy of the collapse. It comes to us in the form of a single picture. A picture of what the Witness hates and what the Traveler used to look like. I know, it's not easy. The collapse took so much more from us than we could possibly have imagined. And the passage of time can take a lot from you too if you're not careful. By the age of 35, 2 in 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness. But it doesn't have to be that way, thanks to Keeps. Keeps is an online subscription service that helps you keep your hair, and you can do it all from the comfort of your own home, tower, enclave, or helm. Still no delivery to the throne world though. Terribly sorry about that one, Bob. With Keeps, you can get recommended plans by doctors that are right for you, and thanks to their team of medical advisors, prescribers, and care specialists, you will have a guide with you during your entire journey to battle hair loss. Keeps even has a way for you to contact your prescribing doctor at any time if you have any questions for a full year. So don't wait for your hairline to collapse. Get Keeps now, because hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/byf, or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/byf. Thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video. Anyway, back to the lore. So I think it's fair to say that Vox Obscura isn't quite as intriguing a mission as Presage is. It lacks a lot of the mystery and the ominous atmosphere of the cramped halls of the Glycan, but I will say that it was really nice to return to Meridian Bay. For those of you that didn't play Destiny 1, note that these areas that we touched down in, the Barrens and the Scablands, all of them are areas that were first available in Mars in the exclusion zone on Destiny 1. This is some very old territory that we're treading on. It's very close to some really significant locations too, such as the lost city of Freehold and a gateway into the Black Garden. That can be found over in the Valley of the Kings. But we're not really here to explore any of that. Indeed, you can't access those areas, they're all blocked off. All this starts with the story around the Season of the Risen, which sees the Vanguard and Keitel's Cabal Ascendancy working closer together to fight the Lucent Hive. This also leads to joint operations conducted in a more clandestine manner, and this is where we're first contacted by Empress Keitel to undertake the Vox Obscura mission. Take a listen to her request.
Guardian, my scions have intercepted a series of psychic broadcasts. They're coming from a decommissioned Cabal bunker on Mars. The messages are perceptible only to those with psionic abilities. They paint my rule and our coalition as treachery. They openly encourage mutiny and coax the defectors toward the Black Fleet. Commander Zavala and I agree that these recruitment efforts must be stopped. But I should not be seen using my forces to suppress Scion communications. So you will be the executor of my fury. Go to Mars and eradicate this cowardly rebellion.
Our alliance with Keitel and her Cabal Ascendancy is a young one, but for us both to mount an effective defense against the Black Fleet, Keitel cannot have defectors in her ranks. These psionic broadcasts are a problem, and as Keitel has said, for her to be seen intervening here would be a grievous error politically. And so, We act as the silent hand of her vengeance and move to snuff out the facility's operators. It's time to return to the exclusion zone. Upon touching down, Zavala further indicates that he agrees with the assessment of the Empress. He believes as well that there are larger pieces in motion here that are not merely connected to discontent scions. He believes that there is a link to the Black Fleet.
Guardian, Empress Keitel's forces are being targeted by psionic propaganda. This could indicate an alliance between the Black Fleet and a group of Scion rebels.
It's at this point that orbital bombardment occurs. There is an attempt to wipe all the facilities here off the map. But through that orbital bombardment risk and a full battalion of heavily armed Cabal soldiers, we push onwards and break through the outer defenses of the base. This would be the first time we would commit to such a push with our trusty Drake tanks, but it would not be the last time. As we pushed further into the base, it was clear that the defectors were willing to bombard the facility from orbit, killing all those inside and razing it to the ground. Also, they could safeguard the secret of who was truly responsible for these broadcasts. Such a level of scorched earth tactics is rather remarkable even for the Cabal. Alas, for them, even their Scion champion, Cabex, wouldn't deter us. So we pushed through and halted the assault. It's here that we were able to confirm some rather remarkable information about the Scions, Callus, the Darkness, and their connection, thanks to Keitel and her Scion Optices, who would be able to relay the first of the psionic transmissions that was being sent out and would allow Keitel to experience it. This first one in particular is where we should really start our discussion of what's truly going on here.
I see the silhouette of a Scion. They stand at the head of a full Cabal legion. Above them hovers a black pyramid, and behind them stands a towering statue of gold. A statue of my father, Callus. His arms outstretched, hand open, beckoning. I can hear his voice. It calls to me, promising refuge, promising salvation.
Furthermore, there is a chest in the distinct style of Callus's Leviathan that can be found in proximity to the Cabal's operating base. Opening each chest each week gives us this dialogue from Commander Zavala.
But look, those chests are from the Leviathan. Gifts from Callus. Is he funding this operation?
I'd hoped that my father would live out his days quietly, in exile. But even now, he's an embarrassment to me, and the Cabal.
We'll continue ops in this location to learn more. Meanwhile, the Vanguard will locate the Leviathan and your father.
When you do, I'll see to him myself.
So it seems clear that Callus is responsible for funding this operation, and by Keitel's vision, it's also really clear that Callus is now completely aligned with the Darkness. This tells us a few important things. The first of which is that in one way or another, Callus is not dead, not truly. At least not dead in all the ways that matter. If Callus retains a degree of sentience and is indeed still alive, then Callus likely now shares the same position as the late Rulk of Lubrae once did, standing in lockstep with the Witness as one of its disciples. His willingness to fund the Vox Obscura operation speaks to his intent. He wishes to peel legions from Keitel's forces like scales from a dragon, and add them to his own forces, allowing him to both strengthen the armies of the Witness and weaken the forces of the coalition that would stand against it. The second important thing that all of this tells us is probably that Callus's communion aboard the Glycan worked, and that in some way or another it probably didn't just kill him. It might therefore be the case that the voices we heard aboard the Glycan, which included some amongst the dead, are a little bit more complicated to understand. You see, the voices that whispered to us aboard the Glycan were always assumed to be those of those who had died, including Gaul, Cade, and Sagira as well. Those voices also, of course, included the voice of Callus. However, maybe this is indicative of something else, something that doesn't just mean that a person is dead. Perhaps there's more to it that we don't know. My personal guess is that the voice of Callus was a manipulation gained by the Witness as it subsumed Callus into its fold. But again, there is no clear confirmation on all of this. The third important thing that this all confirms is something that is later expanded upon, and it's basically the consolidation of the Cabal forces from 3 or 4 distinct factions down to just 2. After the Season of the Chosen, when we won the right of proving and after Crow had stopped the assassination on Commander Zavala, there were a ton of different Cabal factions. You had the Scion Conclave that had attempted to assassinate Commander Zavala. You had the loyalists to Callus, you had the loyalists to Keitel, and you had rogue Cabal that were wandering the system, trying to find a purpose, those who were either previously Red Legion loyalists, or who were a part of the original Scout Legions sent to conquer Sol. Now those factions have started to consolidate at a dramatic pace. Some have flocked to Keitel's banner in the hopes of reclaiming Torobatl, but equally, some have actually left her legion, such as those who went in the Communion mission of the Witch Queen campaign to the Pyramid on Europa to try and find some kind of technology that would help them reclaim their homeworld. Callus's loyalists have seemingly struck an accord with the forces of the Scion Conclave, and have used their shared adversarial relationship with the Vanguard and Keitel as a bedrock for their own alliance. Now the forces aligned to neither Keitel or Callus will probably either be swept up by one group or the other, or alternatively will be laid to waste in the coming conflict. As the two sides align themselves for war, it seems clear that we're starting to see the formation of a dark alliance of Cabal and a light alliance of Cabal. The first, of course, being those that have sided with the former Emperor Callus, and the second being those that have sided with his daughter and have joined the forces of the Coalition. But it's that alliance that Callus has formed with the Scions that we really need to turn to next. I want to go ahead and play some select snippets from the following weeks of dialogue in Vox Obscura to catch you all up and make sure that you all understand. Keep in mind, if you've not played this, that it's got 4 different variations of dialogue, one that plays differently each of the first 4 times you play through it, with the 4th one repeating constantly. Week 2's dialogue reveals the nature of the traitor behind the actual assassination on Zavala yet again, and also behind this operation. It's a name we've heard before. Take a listen.
Only one Scion left alive would have such intimate knowledge of this. The traitor Yriks.
Excellent work, Guardian. Your operation gave us a glimpse of our true enemy.
The latest broadcast betrays its source. This is the work of the rebel Yriks and her enclave. They were behind the attempted assassination of Commander Zavala. She also possesses light-dampening technology, based on intelligence stolen from your weapon foundries.
So we have a name to pin to our board, Yriks. This isn't the first time that they've appeared in the lore. They also appeared in the lore tab of the Palindrome, in a very popular legendary hand cannon, where they can be seen testing the light-suppressing technology that they used in the Season of the Chosen back in the EDZ, where they tested it on a lone Guardian. And it's also in the Captain's Logbook where Yriks appears, where they allow Catabases and his compatriots to seize the Glycon from Red Legion survivors after she communed with another Scion within Catabases' crew called Kinsig. She has a clear and present hatred for Commander Zavala, and also she brings about an interesting aspect to all of this, which is the wider role being played by the Scions in the Cabal conflict generally. There is a whole ton of history for that, and it's actually a video that I want to go into next time, because understanding all of that information is very important. Yriks is probably going to be a big mover and shaker in the story going forward, but in order to understand Yriks, the motivation of the Scions generally, and their really complicated history, it really does require its own dedicated video. So, within the next 2 videos' time, we'll be covering that. So buckle up, strap in, yeah, there's a lot to get to in that. Either way, that's all from us for today. Hopefully this improves your understanding a little bit more of Vox Obscura and all of the little bits of minutiae that's behind it, including what's really going on with Callus. If you have any thoughts of your own, go ahead and leave them down below in the comments section. And if you enjoyed the video, remember to go ahead and leave a like, all that typical stuff that I know you guys hear every time you watch a YouTube video. But as per usual, know that your viewership, as always, is quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Bife. Porodacia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.